Welcome to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with Rebecca Hall Gruyter. In our program each week, we provide the tools, ideas, and encouragement to help you move ahead on your journey, becoming a more powerful and impactful woman in your own life. Now here's your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I hope you're having an absolutely amazing day. I am so honored to have you stopping, pausing for a moment, taking a breath, and leaning into our conversation. We're going to be talking about how success is tied together with our health, how those weave together powerfully, and when our health in particular is not strong, that can actually affect our health, our success. So we're going to look into that, where that connection is, and how we can support it in a really powerful way so that we are uplifting our level of health and our success, meaning moving forward those things that matter most to you. So you're leaning into a great conversation, excited that you have stopped for a moment to give the gift of this time for you. But I want you to get the most out of our conversation, and it is so easy to be somewhere in spirit, in body, and not in spirit, to be there physically, but not really tuned in. And I want you to get everything that is here for you today, because it is not an accident that you tuned in. Therefore, there is something here for you, and I want you to receive it. So I'm going to invite you throughout our time together today to pause, breathe, become present, and really tune in, claiming this time for you so you can receive everything that is here for you today. And we've been focused on overcoming challenges. In March, we're looking at springing forward, how to really keep that forward momentum going. And now, as we're getting into April, a lot of times in the States, we look at April showers, bring May flowers. So I like to spend time in April looking at finding that silver lining in the cloud and in the storm. What are those things that can help us move forward powerfully? Not if those challenges come or those unexpected things, but when. How do we continue to move forward? What's in our toolbox to support us to keep stepping forward, to find our center again so that we can keep moving forward in those things that matter most to us? So today, what we're going to be looking at that health toolbox, and what are some of the things that we're doing to support ourselves so that we can keep moving forward in the areas that matter most to us. One of the things I can be challenged by is I love what I do, and I can get so caught up in it, and I can keep saying yes and adding things to my plate that sometimes I can forget to remember to take care of myself too. I can try to cut corners on the sleep a little bit, or let me just push through and do one more thing, and sometimes forget to move around a little bit during the day, make sure I'm eating regularly, that I'm evaluating what's on my plate, what I'm saying yes to. And if I'm getting squished off the plate, that means there are too many things on the plate. We just have 24 hours. So practice that has really helped me combat that tendency I can have to just let's do more and more and more because I love what I do, to the point where I may not always remember to take care of myself too, is I've built the practice to really look at my plate. I evaluate it every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And am I being realistic about how long things take? Do I need to delegate more? Do I need to take something off my plate? It doesn't serve to do that anymore. And how can I create more space on my plate so there's room for expansion and growth and doing the things I love, and including taking care of me? And by that diligence, really making sure that I don't cut the corners on the sleep, that I do move around periodically, setting myself up for success in that, I find there's a richer experience. I'm able to do more of the things that matter to me, but it really takes that guarding the plate, really taking that time so that I can create room for all that I'm wanting to do and bring forward. So we've brought an amazing health expert who has a very holistic view in how she looks at all the pieces. And I find a very expansive way, beautiful questions to ask as we are looking to move forward in our health and in our success, because they are tied together, that I believe will just serve each of us so powerfully with her wisdom, her experience, and the content that she's going to bring to us today. But let's kind of lay the garden, so to speak, the groundwork here, so we're ready to receive. I've been gardening lately, and I've learned it's important to make sure that the pots are big enough for the type of plant that I'm putting in it, that I choose the right season, that I'm nurturing the soil, that I'm removing parasites. I'm removing things that may interfere with the growth of whatever it is that I'm planting and wanting to bring forth. Now, I want you to think about what we're tapping into today as the seeds that are going to get planted in your garden, and let's create some room and space for them so they can take root in our life. They can really become entwined within us so that we can dig our roots deep and build what matters most to us. And it's really important that your health is part of that conversation. As we're planting things, let's plant seeds for good health so that we can grow and be vibrant in all that we're doing. So let's take a moment to tune in and connect deeply. Those of you who are driving, please stay safe, both hands on the wheel. Just inwardly tuning in, make that conscious decision that you're inwardly tuning in. Those of you who are able to, I invite you to put both feet on the floor, really feel it supporting you. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Out through your mouth like through a straw. Wonderful. Put one hand on your heart, one hand on your head, bringing all of you in, mind, body, soul, and spirit. Take another breath. Keep breathing that way. Close your eyes. You're absolutely safe. The hand on your heart and the hand on your head, bringing all of you in, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And in this space, in this quietness together, as we're looking at health and we're looking at success and how those tie together, particularly in the health side, what is it that you need today? What will encourage you, empower you, uplift you? What is it that you need today and are willing to receive? What is it that you need today and are willing to receive because you have choice? See if that shifts the information you're receiving a little bit. Beautiful. Come back into the room. Another deep breath. Wonderful. Open up your eyes. And I invite you to write down whatever it is that was laid on your heart that you need today, real time, and are willing to receive. What is it that you need and are willing to receive? Write that down, capture it. It's so easy to get distracted, to forget what it is that we need and what we're looking for, because the next idea or thing comes forward or disruption happens in our life and we lose focus. So I'm going to invite you to keep this top of mind, be actively on the lookout, unattached to the how, but really being open to receiving what it is that you need today, real time. Let's take that breath one more time. As you're writing that information down. Beautiful. And I'm just going to go around our virtual room here. And Rosie, I would love for you to share if there was something when we just paused for a moment that was laid on your heart.
Yes, Rebecca, the word gratitude comes up for me. And like you, I keep a lot of balls up in the air, and I'm always working on exciting projects. And today, my self-care will look like yoga and nutritious food and a swim. I have a swim scheduled this afternoon. And what I need, in answer to your question, is to remind myself to feel grateful, to connect the dots that my self-care will support my productivity. My time the time to nurture my body is directly connected with my productivity.
Yes, I love that. Beautiful. Thank you. And remembering that pausing and taking care of ourselves and feeding into ourselves will actually help us be more productive, and to lean into that self-care, embrace it, and be grateful. Beautiful.
It's actually a little ironic because during a swim or yoga, I am separating myself from the to-do list. But then when I come back, the to-do list is even more exciting and more captivating. So it's ironic, but I am remembering to be grateful for that connection.
Beautiful. Great. I know for myself, when I stopped and paused for a moment, I was just struck by how often we go around talking about, almost bragging about how little sleep we got, how little sleep we're operating on, how many cups of coffee we've had, how little we've had to eat, and we're doing all these things, and how long our to-do list is, and how exhausted and tired we are. And it's almost with this sense of pride sometimes. And then when someone comes to us and they're taking a vacation, or they're taking some time off, or they're doing some of these things, I often hear people say, well, it must be nice, thinking about all the stuff they're doing. And I want to invite us to maybe shift that thinking a little bit, that perhaps we should be embracing a shorter list and celebrating. I love that you're celebrating, Rosie, having this gratitude. You said gratitude, and I tie celebration to that so closely, self-care, and that you're building that into our life. And sometimes when people are doing those things, it's almost that we get a little bit jealous. It must be nice. When I think we should be celebrating that and looking at how can we bring that into our life too. I think there's a societal shift that would serve all of us to start to lean into and bring into our life. And that just really struck me as we were taking a moment to pause. And it just reminded me again to embrace those things that matter most and bring those forward. It's not about the to-do list and all those things that we try to accomplish in the day. A lot of it is how we're being in it so that we can be on purpose. And as we get ready to go to our first commercial break, I want to invite you to think about these things that were laid on Rosie's heart, that were laid on my heart, and that are being laid on yours. As we go into this commercial break, resist the urge to go cross things off your to-do list. I invite you to strengthen your pause button, your muscles there to pause. Listen, really give yourself the gift of these 2 minutes to integrate what's being laid on your heart, to listen and to receive, so that when we come back, we can continue to pour into you and uplift you. We'll look forward to talking to you in just 2 minutes.
Voice America Women. Your passion starts here.
Rebecca Hall Gruyter's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at speakertalentsearch.com. That's speakertalentsearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
If you've always wanted to take the lead in your life, but you don't believe you are a leader, then it's time to change that mindset. Leadership expert Linda Patton will help you discover the powerful leader that lives within and teach you the leadership skills that will transform your business and your life. Stepping into your leadership brings reality to your vision, and leadership can be learned. Find out more on Leadership Stars every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Women's Channel.
These days, everyone is looking for information on staying young, healthy, and fit. The Voice America Health and Wellness Network is here to help you on your quest to better health and a better you. We talk about everything from diet, fitness, and aging to substance abuse, personal growth, mental health, and much more. Learn from our experts who cover health and wellness from traditional and holistic perspectives. Tune in to the Voice America Health and Wellness Network. Healthy living starts here.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
You're listening to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. If you have a question or comment for Rebecca or her guest, we'd love to hear from you. Please call into the program at 1-866-613-1612. That's 1-866-613-1612. You may also send an email to Rebecca at yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. Now back to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed those 2 minutes, that you really gave yourself the gift of that being still, pausing, listening, receiving. I encourage you throughout the show, when we give you those moments that are disguised as commercial breaks, these are really moments for you to stop, be still, pause, breathe, and integrate. This way, what is being shared with you can become part of you. Instead of being added to the to-do list, it can actually become part of who you are as you're stepping back out into the world. So I'm going to encourage you throughout our time together to build those pausing, listening, and integrating muscles. And as promised, we're going to get into a beautiful conversation with our amazing guest as she shares powerful information around our health and around success and how these things tie together so powerfully. And once we know that, how we can use that in a powerful way to step forward in the areas that matter to us. But let me share a little bit about our guest. You heard a little bit from her heart on looking at gratitude and remembering to be grateful for the self-care, and that ties into your productivity when we opened up our segment. But let me share a little bit about Rosie's background and where she stands today. So Rosie Bank has been helping people since the mid-1970s. So she has a long track record of success, rich experience in helping people in this arena. She is a board-certified health coach. She is an author of 4 books, a podcast host, an international speaker, and she's absolutely passionate about helping people get their bodies to support them in their work and in their personal lives. Please lean in and warmly welcome the amazing Rosie Bank to the show. Welcome.
Thanks, Rebecca. That was a great introduction.
You are very welcome. Excited to have you joining the conversation. And I love to start with why. Why does this work of helping people in this way, why is that personally so important to you?
Well, Rebecca, as you mentioned, I began this journey in the mid-1970s. I have a long history of teaching body therapy and yoga, practicing yoga, And all those decades that I was a rolfer and yoga teacher and practiced, I was lugging around a really, really serious eating disorder. And then in 1999, when I stumbled upon nutrition, I was able to dial back all of that horrible self-destructive behavior. And since I was a busy professional, I had a really personal experience of how devastating it was to try to run my business with exhaustion and shame about my body and embarrassment about my practices, and my energy would drop to the floor. And when I got involved in nutrition in 1999, I transferred my practice from rolfing and yoga to health coaching because I identified a way that I could make a difference for people who needed and wanted to be on the same page with their bodies because they could do the work that they wanted to do, like leaving a legacy and making a difference and playing a bigger game, and they had to get their bodies aligned with their mission, because if not, their practices were unsustainable and they couldn't keep going on. So I found my purpose.
I thank you for sharing that, and I can hear your passion and your conviction in why you do what you do and your calling in this area to make a powerful difference. And listeners, I hope you heard that as well. I think it's so important to have people shining in those areas that they are called to be in. And this is definitely an area that Rosie is called to be in and to make a powerful difference. So I celebrate you and I thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Absolutely. Now, we've been talking about this a little bit, about how health and self-care and success, how this kind of ties together, and that and you talked about this a little bit in your why, that for things to be sustainable, we have to get our bodies to the level that they can continue to do the work that we're doing. But I'd love to have you explain how these tie together and just give you a moment to elaborate on this, because this can be a very new connection for a lot of our listeners to be exploring.
Rebecca, I've been in your community for about a year now, and I hear people talk about playing a bigger game, making a difference, leaving a legacy, leaning forward, overcoming challenges, and all of that is good and true and beautiful. If on the back end people are suffering from exhaustion or overfed and undernourished, or their bodies hurt, or they're lacking energy, or they are trying to run a marathon on just caffeine, there's a really big problem. And so, in answer to your question, unraveling those challenges can enable people to do the things that the members of your community say they want to do. So it's like breaking free of, for some, it's the final terrain. They're so masterful at helping other people, and to turn that regard into themselves and bring their level of vitality up to a sustainable level and learn how to eat nutritious food and making sleep a priority and overcoming exhaustion. Imagine what people can do when they resolve those kinds of issues.
Beautiful. So let's just take a moment and kind of think about that. Are we sometimes running on empty, running on caffeine and exhaustion, and yet we keep pushing forward because what we're wanting to bring forward matters so much to us? And I love that Rosie is presenting that there's another way that we can actually be sustained and be nourished while we're doing all of those things. These aren't mutually exclusive, but intricately and purposely, they should be tied together so it's sustainable, all that we're looking to bring to the world. And I want us to just take a moment and think about this. And it's not with criticism, it's not with judgment, but just awareness. Sometimes we can miss that we're pushing without remembering to nourish and take care of ourselves.
Rebecca, I'd like to introduce the word love. And
sure. And And Rosie, I'm so sorry. I just want to give us one moment more so that all of the listeners can kind of just do a check-in and see where we are in this, and just with awareness. And then I love where you're wanting to bring in love, because when we're looking at these things, when we are doing a check-in, sometimes feelings and emotions can come up that are not always supportive. So, Rosie, yes, please bring in this conversation about love.
Bring on the love. Well, I'm going to put it out there that we learn to love our bodies and get our bodies to love us back. And I think that those are the underpinnings of the kind of self-worth, the kind of self-regard, the kind of self-honoring that I think forms the foundation of doing our best work. And
Yes.
for people like you and me and members of this community, there's so much energy and attention going out to serve the client and have the products and have the services. Turning that attention to ourselves by how we sleep, making sleep a priority like you mentioned, by putting nutrient-dense food on our plate, by taking time out to move our bodies, all of that self-love and getting our bodies to love us back, then, like the theme that you and I are coming back to, enables us to then, quote, do the work, end quote, that we say that we're all about.
Yes. Yes. And allowing ourselves to do that. And I love how you're bringing in love, because we're very good at taking care of others. And sometimes we're too often putting ourselves at the end of the list. And if we could turn that around a little bit, those are transferable skills, everybody. We can always also turn that into taking care of ourselves and holding space for ourselves as well. These aren't brand new muscles. It's sometimes just learning that we can turn that same love, care, support, and attention to ourselves as well. Oh, as we get ready to go to our first commercial break, I wanted to see if there's a particular challenge that you see out there that you want to make sure we support our listeners with today. I'd love for you to share that. If it's an expansion on what we've talked about, or if there's a challenge that you see again and again with the people that you serve and can help really powerfully, I'd love to identify that and have them think about that as they go into their time of reflection.
You bet, Rebecca. The first thing I see over and over again is confusion. The field of nutrition is overwhelmingly confusing, and the experts do not agree with each other. And so it is my job to help people navigate through that landscape to find what works for them. The second thing I find is fear. People are afraid to give up their chips. They're afraid that someone's going to say, you can't eat this or you have to do this. And usually what's behind that fear are more gentle, manageable adjustments than people realize when they're trying to navigate this on their own. And the third one I encounter is overwhelmment. Where do they get started? What can they pick? They're afraid they're going to inherit what the diseases their parents had, and it's so overwhelming that they do nothing. And all of that is, if there's a word, dismantleable, I'm going to say that word now. It can be that terrain is navigable, Rebecca. People can find their way to higher ground by addressing their fear, their confusion, and their overwhelmment.
Beautiful. So listeners, as we get ready to go into our next commercial break here, I want you to think about these things, because I hope that gives you great hope that, yes, there are a lot of different messages out there. Experts are saying different things. There can be fears that are feeding into it, that it's all manageable, that you can get support, that you can take a step at a time and navigate through these different things in your health so you can show up vibrantly and powerfully in your life. So I want to encourage you, and I want you to feel that as we go into this next commercial break, really looking at how that would look and feel for you, what it is that, knowing that those things can be addressed, that you don't have to navigate them on your own, and you can get support along the way. I want you to take that on and see how that feels, and with all of your senses as we go into this next break. We'll look forward to talking to you in just 2 minutes.
This is the Voice America Women's Channel, where your success is limitless.
Rebecca Hall Gruyter's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at speakertalentsearch.com. That's speakertalentsearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
Relationship issues? Anxious? Parenting challenges? No more. Learn to live your best life. Tune into Straight Talk with top therapist, relationship, and anxiety expert Sandra Reish. Learn to transform your challenges into effective solutions. Whether it's relationships, parenting, anxiety, or other traps, Sandra will show you how you can live the life of your dreams. Listen live every Thursday afternoon at 6 p.m. Eastern Time and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel.
Have you had a chance to check out Voice America's online magazine and blog, Press Pass? If you love our hosts and shows, check out articles that give an even deeper perspective. Plus topics about health and fitness, movie reviews, philosophy, business tips and tactics, spirituality, positive thought, current events, and even more about your favorite host. It's just a click away at vapresspass.com. That's vapresspass.com. VA Press Pass by Voice America. All access, all the time.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
You're listening to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. If you have a question or comment for Rebecca or her guest, we'd love to hear from you. Please call into the program at 1-866-613-1612. That's 1-866-613-1612. You may also send an email to Rebecca at yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. Now back to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes and really taking on that truth that you can get support, that all of those things that can come up, that we can be overwhelmed by, we actually can get support navigating through, that we don't need to do it on our own. And I hope it felt luxurious, beautiful, encouraging, and supportive. And I'm going to encourage you to remember that truth as we go through our time. And it's not just in our health, it's actually in our lives too, all of it, that we can give ourselves that support. We can get support along the way. We don't have to do it all. And we're going to talk about this and bring it up, perfectionists. That we can be so hard and critical on ourselves and expect perfection in things that we're learning and growing in. And I want to just encourage us to release perfectionistic, there we go, behavior, that we don't have to be perfect. In fact, nobody has that expectation of us but ourselves sometimes. And if we can really build that practice of not holding ourselves to these standards that are just not necessarily real or attainable, or we're judging ourselves by, because that can discourage us, beat us down, and hold us back. And an area we do this in is health. And so, Rosie, I want to hand the floor over to you and have you expand on this conversation around what you see around perfection and health.
Well, I think it's overrated. And I think that I think that
Beautiful.
striving to get better and striving to improve is so much more realistic than striving to be perfect. I want to quote two authors who have been influential for me. The Gift of Imperfection by Brené Brown taught me to master imperfection, and Tony Robbins taught me about CANI, C-A-N-I, which is constant and never-ending improvement. And Rebecca, I think in the wellness, creating vitality, having our bodies support us better, I love talking about moving the needle, that we inch toward taking better care of ourselves, that we allow our health to improve over time, not overnight, that we enjoy a slight bump up in our energy because we're sleeping better. We don't have to become a marathon runner overnight because we've mastered all this. But to move in the right direction is a lot, it's enough, and it's a very sustainable way to get our bodies healthier and to improve our levels of vitality.
Beautiful. Listeners, how did that feel? That was so encouraging, so great. I love some of the things that you shared so beautifully. These are tweetable, quotable things that Rosie just shared that I think it's important for us to embrace, that it's over time, not overnight, moving the needle, that moving in the right direction is enough. So let's take a moment and just really embrace those truths. And in fact, celebrate them and recognize movement that we're making. And that's where, when you have somebody walking beside you, sometimes they can help you see that movement that you don't see yourself because you're so in what you're doing. And I'd love for you to share about that too, Rosie, if you find that people don't always recognize the growth or the movement or where the needle has moved in the right direction, and how you help them see those types of things.
Oh, that's a wonderful question, Rebecca. A story with a client pops in my head. I took him through an exercise where we determined mathematically the percentage of improvement that he had been going through. And after we did the exercise, he came up with 80%. But
wow.
his attention had been the 20% that, in his words, where he had been screwing up. And when we turned his attention toward the 80% of improvement, the future looked so much rosier to him, and this whole process became so much more encouraging to him. He literally had his attention on the 2 times out of 10 that he had made what's called an error in judgment. It's not a felony to make an error in judgment, and we can correct from our errors in judgment. In particular, if we have our attention on the times that we make excellent decisions. So it's important for our listeners to realize what we focus on, we get more of, and berating ourselves or belittling ourselves or feeling ashamed for our errors in judgment can knock us off our game when, in fact, we might be moving ahead. We might be improving.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, because that can so often be the case. I didn't do this, or I did this, and da-da-da-da-da. And that's what we're spending all of our energy on, rather than the recognition of all the other things or choices or decisions we did that were positive and great, and missing that. I love this story. So thank you for sharing this. Listeners, I hope you're appreciating it, because it's such a good example of how we're missing the 80% of what we're doing that's positive and good by giving all that attention and beating ourselves up over the 20%. Like that's a B average. That's a great thing to keep celebrating and moving forward in. And that's where having an expert walk beside you can help you when perhaps your focus is getting on that 20% versus the 80%. And I'm curious, Rosie, because you've been doing this for a long time, supporting people. Was that an unusual focus that this individual had, or do you see that again and again?
I see it again and again, Rebecca. I would say it's somewhat emblematic for people like my clients and the people who are in your community to make the shift toward, well, I'm doing a pretty good job here. And that's true whether it's wellness or health or marketing or business or becoming a speaker. That has a pretty overarching impact to turn our attention to where we're making progress rather than focusing on where we may not have met our own unrealistic high standards.
Yes. Beautiful. So listeners, this is a really great thing to reflect on, think about a little bit, and see if perhaps if you widen that lens and shifted the focus a little bit, you might discover you're doing a pretty good job. And that can be encouraging and help you continue to move forward. And I suspect, Rosie, in the example that you were sharing with us, did he keep going on with more enthusiasm and excitement when he saw his progress?
Oh, absolutely. I got a text from him this morning about the puffiness in his eyes were gone, and he likes the way his face looks in the mirror, and he's more enthusiastic about making better health choices. So, absolutely, Rebecca, when he turns his attention towards the good job he's doing, taking care of himself, you bet he wants to continue.
Yeah. Beautiful. So I want to just bring up when it makes sense to get support, because so often we're trying to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, just kind of keep pushing forward on things. And this to me is a really great example of having someone help you expand your view and see where progress is being made. And maybe that next step or next thing you can do to move forward in the areas that matter most to you. So I'd love for you to comment on that. What are some indicators, or when does it make sense for somebody to get support from someone like you, from a health coach, in what they're looking to do in life?
Rebecca, I have two examples. I'll use myself because my own practices were so egregious. I'll just take responsibility for this one. The first example is for people who are like how I used to be, and they know that what they're doing, they can't continue. I had to make a choice point when I got off that road, that highway where the disease train was barreling down and I had to jump the track. I knew that I couldn't continue abusing my body the way that I was. That's the first example. I'll use myself because that's how I used to be. The second example is people who want to improve their game. They say, I don't want to lug around this exhaustion. I don't want to lug around these food cravings. I'm really not okay with how I look. I say that I am, but I'm really not. I say that I feel good, but I really don't. This exhaustion is knocking me out of my game, and I'm tired of running on empty, and I want to get this stuff squared away. So I use two extremes. One person who just can't go on the way they're going on, and somebody else who just wants to, I would say, I like to get this way, Rebecca, improve their practices.
Beautiful. And that sounds very inviting and positive, which I think is great. And something I find about Rosie, just every interaction I've ever had with her, she's very good at holding space, non-judgmental, confidential, and really wants to understand who you are and where you're wanting to go with things. So that's something, Rosie, I appreciate about you, and I think stands out beautifully in who you are, how you show up in the world, and the work that you do.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I didn't get myself squared away by beating myself up. I got myself squared away by using love as one of the main ingredients. And frankly, since you bring it up, I think that's something to pay forward, because usually when people are at odds with their food choices, they're exhausted, they need a pretty major dose of self-love. And I think people can be astonished by the power of that.
So listeners, as we get ready to go to our next commercial break here, here's an opportunity to just give yourself these 2 minutes to digest some of what is being spoken into your heart and spirit. We've covered a lot of really powerful content, and I want to give you an opportunity to let it speak into your heart and spirit. And I want to encourage you to see how you can be more loving to yourself in this area. And enjoy these next 2 minutes, and we'll look forward to talking to you in just a moment.
Voice America Women's Channel.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
Rebecca Hall Gruyter's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at speakertalentsearch.com. That's speakertalentsearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
We're making it easier to listen to the Voice America Talk Radio Network wherever you go. In addition to listening live, you can check out information about your favorite talk show hosts, discover new talk show personalities, add shows to your list of favorites, and listen to all our show archives on demand. All from your iPhone, BlackBerry, or Android. Download it from the Apple App Store, BlackBerry App World, or Android Market, and get ready to tune in. The Voice America mobile app, powered by Aircast.
The Voice America Women's Channel.
You're listening to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. If you have a question or comment for Rebecca or her guest, we'd love to hear from you. Please call into the program at 1-866-613-1612. That's 1-866-613-1612. You may also send an email to Rebecca at yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. Now back to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed those 2 minutes and found a way to perhaps be just a little bit more loving to yourself. Release some of that, those high perfection standards we can hold for ourselves. Really celebrate what is and what we're bringing forward and doing. I was watching a video. We record our events and we film them and turn them into television shows that we release out through various networks. In fact, the one that we're releasing this week, when I was reviewing it, there was a moment where I asked all of the participants to draw a heart in the center of this template they were using and to give themselves a hug and send love with that hug when they did it. And you pan out to the audience and they didn't do it at first. So we tried again, and this time they did. And you could see the energy in the room shift, smiles on their faces, just remembering to take that one moment and send ourselves a little bit of love. So I love how strongly you emphasize that and so lovingly underscored that, Rosie. It's so important that we remember to love ourselves. And as we are coming towards the end of our amazing time together, I wanted to see if there was something on your heart that you wanted to share with our listeners, an encouragement, an inspiration, a truth, something that you want them to carry with them as they go back out into the world. I'd love for you to share that.
You bet, Rebecca. I'm going to mention 3 distinctions for our listeners today who want to take their health to the next level. And obviously, be a very specific, actionable recommendation. How's that
Perfect.
sound?
That would be great. So papers and pens ready. Perfect.
Okay. There's 3. The first is a high mileage adjustment, which means look around and have a sense of where you might get the most bang for your buck if you were to make a single adjustment. It's the kind of adjustment that would spill over into the rest of your life, the place where you know that if you were to make an adjustment, there would be a lot of really positive fallout. Let's say, for example, not raiding the fridge and eating a pint of ice cream in the nighttime. I'll make it sound easy because we're not going to get into the how-tos, but I'm recommending to find the high mileage adjustment. The next one is to focus on food quality and quantity, that when we eat nutrient-dense food, but not too much of it, that's a real game changer for a lot of people. I recommend 3 healthy meals a day and to avoid getting stuffed, because people who love their bodies just don't eat until they are in a food coma. That's a long story made short. And the third takeaway, the third tip I'm recommending is to get ready in your body to do your work. And that means to nutrient yourself, get some exercise, be well rested, and connect the dots. And we go out into the world to make a difference for our clients or to be with our families in the highest possible way to overcome our challenges, that we actually get ready by taking care of our bodies. So we put our makeup on if we're women, and we put on nice clothes, but it's awesome to also nurture our bodies in a mindset of getting ready.
Beautiful. So that we can show up as our best. Beautiful. Thank you, Rosie. I so appreciate your sharing. I appreciate you being on the show today. Listeners, I hope you have been richly served by the powerful wisdom and tips and insights that Rosie has shared with us. So thank you for being here today and being part of our show.
It's my pleasure, Rebecca. Thank you back.
Wonderful. And listeners, I want to thank you for leaning in, for saying yes to you, for being willing to give yourself the gift of this time to let us pour into you, to let us be with you on this rich journey that we get to be on together as we're seeking to transform from the inside out and really make a powerful difference around the world. And that happens one heart, one life, one choice, one connection at a time. So I'm going to encourage you as you go back out into the world, find ways to express love a little bit more to yourself, be a little bit more loving. Look at how to apply those 3 powerful steps that Rosie has shared with you, game-changing things that can make a powerful difference. And that you're willing to show up as your best, to really do those things that will help you shine powerfully from the inside out. So when you are having those connections, you're able to bring the best of you into them. That's how we make a difference in the world. It's one heart, one life, one step, one connection at a time. So as you go back out into the world looking for those opportunities to connect, to share your heart, your love, your gifts with another, I hope that you are willing to richly share the gift of who you are, all your various dimensions. It's not about perfection. It's a willingness to connect one heart and life at a time. I hope that wherever you go, whatever you do, that you will always be willing to bloom where you are planted and shine. Have an amazing week, everyone. Talk to you next time.
Thank you for joining us this week for Empowering Women, Transforming Lives. Please tune in again for another edition with your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter, next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific on the Voice America Women's Channel. And join us for a replay of the show every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Have a beautiful week, and may you always bloom where you're planted and shine.